Good morning, folks. So, yeah, another day, another dollar, as they say. So, right, this morning's vlog is going to be about the cold. It's funny because I've been thinking about this for the last, well, I guess the last few days, I suppose. And I don't think I've ever thought about this before, to be quite honest. Not that I can, well, maybe just fleetingly, but for the last, well, since last night and this morning and what have you, I've been really thinking really deeply about this, and the psychology of the cold, as I'm calling it. I was just getting thinking, because like, I get up sometimes in the morning and my house is freezing cold. And it's kind of like, I'm not a morning person anymore. I used to be when I was younger, but I'm just not a morning person anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I really struggle getting up in the mornings at times. That's why I always have my alarm. I always set my alarm and make sure I get up. And and it doesn't really matter sometimes what time I go to bed either. Even if I go to bed early, I get full 8 hours or whatever, or longer sort of thing. When I wake up in the morning, it's kind of like I still feel really tired and groggy and miserable. I'm like a bear with a sore head. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, I feel, ugh. Do you know what I mean? And just recently, because of all the cold and everything, it's been really cold in my house waking up in the morning. And like, I'm pottering around the house and I'm like, I'm just so cold, and it kind of impacts on how I'm feeling anyway, sort of thing. You know what I mean? In a general sense, So anyway, like I say, I don't know why. Like I say, I do think about stuff a lot, and sometimes about really mundane, like things that you think like, why are you thinking about that? Sometimes more profound and deep stuff. But I am a thinker at the end of the day. I just am. It's just me. It's just, do you know what I mean? And I do tend to think a lot about lots of different things and think quite deeply about stuff. And anyway, so like I say, over the last couple of days I've been thinking about this a lot, sort of thing, about how the cold impacts us on a psychological level, never mind just on a physical sense. Because like, something that always interested me was how you could get a group of people, doesn't matter about the amount, just like 2, 3, 4 people, whatever, it doesn't really matter, but you get a small little group of people, say, and you go out somewhere and the temperature is a particular temperature. So that's a fact. Do you know what I mean? It's a indisputable fact. You can't argue with it. Like, so let's say the temperature, I don't know, just for argument's sake, well, pull a number out of my head and say like 14 degrees, say, just for argument's sake. And so the temperature is a measurable temperature at 14 degrees, right? So presumably that is really, really cold, because I don't understand the Fahrenheit and the degrees thing and all that sort of thing so much exactly. I think 14 degrees is pretty cold. I'm pretty sure that is. Anyway, a cold temperature, whatever it is, right? But it's a measurable, known fact that you can't argue that is the temperature, right? So you could get a group of people and say, like, we'll just pick another random number. Let's say 6 people, for instance, right? So you've got 6 people, and they could all be different age, different gender, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Just a random group of people, right? And you can ask them about their experience of being out in the cold, and you'll get varying different answers. Do you know what I mean? So some people, I mean, have you never been with like a group of friends or people, and you've been out and about somewhere or whatever, and maybe 1 or 2 of that group will be complaining about how cold they are or how cold it is, and yet you yourself will be thinking, well, it's not that cold. Do you know what I mean? And I find that really fascinating and really interesting, because the temperature is the temperature, and it's fixed. And okay, fair enough. If you're moving around an area, yes, the temperature can, especially in a city or whatever, I understand that like certain areas can be colder than others, sort of thing. But again, if we try and put in some controls to this scenario, let's just, for argument's sake, they're standing in a field, yeah. So let's just like put some controls in so that we can filter out some of those variables, if you like, sort of thing. So it's a constant temperature in the middle of that field, and there's people standing there, and each person is going to experience that cold in a different way. Now, okay, you can say, well, that's pretty obvious because they're all individuals, and you know, they all come from different backgrounds and different life experiences and so forth and whatever, and that can colour how they experience stuff, and I totally get that. But I still find it really interesting that people can, you know, experience cold in different ways. Do you know what I mean? And I just find it really, really interesting because, like I say, you know, and that can vary from day to day as well. Because, like, some days I can come out and presumably it might be the same temperature, but it not bother me so much. And also, I've noticed sometimes I come out in the morning, and again, you could say, well, it's because you're acclimatized. And so, like, sometimes I can come out in the morning and feel really, really miserable, cold, blah, 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 and then walk around for a little bit or whatever, and then not notice it so much, you know what I mean? Even though the temperature might still be the same. But, you know, I just find it really, really interesting how psychologically the cold can affect us. So like I say, you know, you can have a temperature, a certain particular temperature, and a different group, you know, a group of people can experience it in a different way. And some people, you know, you could have some people that walk around in a t-shirt and shorts, do you know what I mean? And, you know, they might say, yeah, it's cold, but, you know, I'm not feeling it that much or whatever. And then get another person wrapped up to the max like I am right now, feeling absolutely like, do you know what I mean? And also physiologically, obviously, because everybody's different, do you know what I mean? And I guess it depends on your age and, you know, whether you're a big person, small person, I suppose. You know, all these different factors can play into it and how it impacts on a person. And I mean, all of this seems pretty obvious, I guess, but I just want to try and understand it a bit more, because, like, I'm thinking what I'm going to do is when I get back home, I'm going to do a little bit of research on it, and, like, the psychological impacts of cold. Do you know what I mean? There must be research on it somewhere. There must be, you know what I mean? So I'm going to check out some research on this subject, because, like I say, I find it really, really interesting that how I really hate the cold. I hate it. Do you know what I mean? That's why I don't like winter time. That's why I much prefer the summertime. And when I have conversations with people about this, and it's like, you know, I say, oh, I love the summertime, and then people always come with a caveat. Yeah, I don't mind it, but I hate when it gets too hot, and, you know what I mean, I like it just at a certain temperature or whatever. Most people generally tend to come back with that caveat sort of thing. And I get it, I totally get it, and I agree with them, you know what I mean? I mean, there'll be a certain point when it'll get too hot for me, and I'll be like, oh my god, this is horrendous, I can't breathe, it's like, you know what I mean? But overall, I much prefer the summer. I much prefer when it's warmer, and I guess that goes for the vast majority of people. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that, you know, that isn't like a normal reaction necessarily, but yeah, I don't know. I really need to sort of look into it. It's because of the way it makes me feel. Do you know what I mean? And how it impacts on me, and the fact that you know, it with the cold, it tends to make me more depressed and more sort of, you know, I don't know if negative in that sense. Maybe to some degree it makes me a little bit more negative or whatever and so forth. But again, I know that, you know, that's not just specific to me, you know what I mean? That's a massive swathe of the population, do you know what I mean, sort of thing. But I just find it really, really interesting, and I want to understand it more, and I want to understand my own reactions more as to why I feel the way I do about the cold, and how it impacts on me in a psychological sense. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm definitely going to check this subject out a little bit more, to be quite honest, because I'm just super fascinated by it. And mainly because it affects me in a personal sense, you know what I mean? So from that perspective, I really want to understand it. I really want to try and understand how and why and whatever sort of thing, you know. Yeah, anyway, yeah, so that's been the topic for today, is to witter on about the psychology of the cold. Because it seems pretty relevant at the moment, I suppose. Yeah, okay, so anyway, all the Manchester videos are up, so that's all done. I've still got the museum video that I need to get on with. That is going to take that's going to take some work, guys. I mean, I did start editing that thing and then it all went wrong, to be quite honest, and I had to restart it all over again. Is that Ben? Ooh, I think that's our boss. I think Ben is walking past, actually, but I can't tell from this distance right now. It looks like him. I'm just being nosy. So. It is Ben. Yeah, Ben's just walked past. Anyway, yeah, so, completely forgot what I was saying, distracted myself now. Yeah, so, yeah, I've got to re-edit that because, like I say, the first edit of it just didn't work out. It got way too complex and it just completely screwed up. So, so basically, I'm going to have to redo that from scratch, and that's going to take a little while, to be quite honest, because what I want to do with that footage and what I envision for it, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull off with the software that I have. I might be able to do it to the way I hope it'll turn out and look, but I'm not sure yet. And also, like I say, with that sort of B-roll stuff that I'm, you know, and then I'm going to try and edit that into a nice little cool sort of video where I'm trying to aim for this idea of, like, I've gone to like an old Roman temple or Greek temple or something, and then kind of go into these statues to sort of pray to these like mythical gods or whatever sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's just a bit of fun, and it's just I'm just trying to be creative. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just trying to create this sort of sense that, like, you know, I'm just trying to create this atmosphere of it, sort of thing. Just because I like being creative. You know what I'm like. I'm a very creative person. Sorry, I was just wondering who that was behind me. I couldn't quite see them in the thing, and I thought it was Ben for a minute. I thought he was hanging around. So anyway, yeah, so hopefully I'll get that done as soon as I can, and apart from that, at the moment, everything else is done. So to be quite honest with you, I'm not sure where else we're going to take this. Anyway, I'm also conscious of the fact that I don't know how long I've been wittering on for, and it's definitely getting near time to go to work. So for the time being, I'm going to leave it there, and I shall catch you guys later. Bye for now.